Should we expect a major breakthrough in the US-Russian relations following yesterday's summit between President Joe Biden and the Russian strongman, Vladimir Putin? This is Rebecca Koffler with Censored but Not Silenced. I'm a former DIA intelligence officer, and I will give you my professional assessment on how the meeting went. The 2-hour Zoom tete-a-tete between the two presidents served as a platform for President Putin to manipulate the US chief executive. In fact, Putin was able to dupe President Biden into helping him make Russia great again. How? The Russian master spy has checkmated Biden by escalating the force posture along the Ukrainian border, which comprised of over 100,000 Russian troops, including heavy weaponry, artillery, special operators. Previously, Putin announced the so-called red lines, giving President Biden an ultimatum. Either America will provide guarantees to Russia that the former Soviet states will not be joining NATO and will not be pursuing their own independent paths of development, or Russia will continue to destabilize Ukraine. During the collegium of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Putin was boasting that he liked having the West on edge. He said those strange creatures, I quote, in Brussels and Washington don't seem to take our red lines seriously. And so he continued to intimidate Ukraine. He also, in the run-up to this whole military buildup, continued to wage cyber attacks on the United States. Oh, excuse me, I forgot. It was Russia-based criminals, as Joe Biden characterized them. Well, it is not by chance, comrade. Это не случайно, товарищ, as the Russians like to say, that the Russian spy master has concluded that President Biden is someone who could be easily manipulated. As a quote unquote former intelligence operative, Putin is very skilled at profiling foreign leaders. Remember former President Bush, who looked into Putin's eyes and saw a soul? Well, similarly, President Biden was being worked by Putin during the meeting to convince Biden that Russia and the United States could be friends again. Following the meeting, Putin's assistant, Yuri Ushakov, was basically touting the meeting that it was a very productive, candid, and business-like exchange with successful doses of humor and mutual compliments. Imagine that. Even though Putin doesn't take Biden seriously, he believes that he can convince Biden that he will proceed to craft the relationship between the United States and Russia on Russia's terms. And sure enough, the day after, Biden announced that use of military force is off the table. When it comes to response, there will be no response, as typical for President Biden. As we know, after Russia hacked our critical infrastructure, including food supply, meat, hamburgers, things that we love as Americans, including our energy reserves, gas, the Colonial Pipeline. The hacking of that facility caused a week worth of long lines at the gas pumps. Well, how is that possible? How did Putin manage to do that? As I said, he assessed President Biden as a weak character and his foreign policy as appeasement. He believes Biden does not have the stomach to stand up to Putin's plan to fulfill his strategic ambitions to rebuild the Russian empire. Putin is not stupid. He has seen the shameful withdrawal of US forces out of Afghanistan. He saw the defeat, despite the fact that America has the best warfighting force in military history, has superior weapons. We, under President Biden's leadership, ran away. We were chased out by the Taliban. We surrendered a very strategic location, the Bagram Air Force Base. Putin also understands that Biden's Pentagon is more interested in indoctrinating its military officers in the critical race theory, which is a Marxist ideology, rather than teaching them how to win battles. And this is why Putin is on the march. He wants to demonstrate to the rest of the world that he is a top dog in global geopolitics. This is what the Russian media said about the meeting. The Russian media actually was live streaming the beginning of the meeting, which was billed to us as closed for the media. You could see Joe Biden flailing and flopping his arms in a cheerleader style, smiling, greeting the Russian authoritarian, while Putin rewarded the US chief executive with a smug look and a grin. The Russian media wrote how the two leaders reminisced about the Second World War when the two were allies, the Soviet Union and the United States. It also said that this is the right example for the future of the US-Russian relations and collaboration. They're trying to convince President Biden that Putin can be friends with him. Regarding the question whether Putin plans to reconstitute the Soviet Union, here's what the assistant of the Russian president said. Today, the reconstitution of the Soviet Union is not possible. He later added that under the present conditions, it is not viable. However, there are multiple integration processes going on in the post-Soviet states, including the establishment of the Eurasian Economic Union and the collaboration of the post-Soviet states within the so-called Commonwealth of Independent States. Most notably, today, Russia and Belarus are already part of the quote unquote union. Imagine that. So this is the interpretation of the meeting by the Russians, who also contradicted US media, which was praising President Biden for threatening the Russians with severe, quote unquote, economic measures. The Russian broadcasters said that the two presidents did not pile on threats on one another, but instead were seeking grounds for compromise. Well, compromise is what President Biden has done. He compromised US strategic interests, not the vital interests. Ukraine is not part of US vital interests. Our safety, security, territorial integrity, and long-term survivability in no way are reliant on Ukraine. But there's a reason why there's a long-standing policy that both Democrats and Republicans support and the United States has been pursuing for decades. And that policy is to prevent the emergence of a dominant power in Eurasia, similar to what the Soviet Union was. And that is to ensure that Europe remains free in pursuit of liberty, capitalism, and independent paths of development, rather than falling under the thumb of authoritarians like President Putin. Well, unfortunately, President Biden is outmatched and outgunned in this dogfight. Putin wants to demonstrate that he has the stomach to wage war with the United States and NATO, which the Russians believe is inevitable because Russia's and US national interests and foreign policies are on a geopolitical collision course. How? We are fighting with the Russians over the same sphere of influence, Ukraine, which Russia believes is part of its backyard. Putin wants to enforce his own version of the Monroe Doctrine and keep NATO out of Russia's perceived sphere of influence and security perimeter. So, where does it leave us? No, there hasn't been any breakthrough as a result of this 2-hour-long Zoom meeting. If anything, regretfully, the US president has wasted an opportunity to send a strong signal to Putin that his destabilizing activities will not stand. That is the outcome of the meeting. Unfortunately, until the next time, we are not in a dominant position. In fact, the only thing that Putin fears is a strong leader, because fear equals respect in the Russian mindset. And this is not something that our chief executive projects. This is Rebecca Koffler, who's censored but not silenced. If you found this video interesting and valuable, please like and subscribe. Visit me on my website, RebeccaKoffler.com. Also visit my other website, whitehousedossier.com, and subscribe to my newsletter from that website called cuttothenews.com, which is a daily compilation of the top news that everyone should know. And it's all right there in one snapshot. As you can see, I'm the author of a new book, Putin's Playbook, Russia's Secret Plan to Defeat America. Check it out. It's on Amazon. It's been endorsed by several prominent US military and political leaders. Thank you for listening. Again, this is Rebecca Koffler with Censored but Not Silenced.